Have you ever just found yourself totally lost in a real-life mystery?
Mm.
One that really grabs you, makes you need answers, a story that just kind of sticks with you. That feeling, that pull towards the unknown, it's pretty universal, isn't it? And it's exactly what we're digging into today.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our deep dive today is all about Crime Junkie. And look, it's really not just another true crime show. It's become this massive cultural thing. It totally changed the game for podcasts. We're talking about a show that really, in just a few years, got millions and millions of people listening all over the world.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is digging into why. Why did Crime Junkie just explode like that? So we'll look at, the formula they kind of perfected. We'll unpack some of the deeper reasons people get pulled into true crime stories in general. And we have to talk about the controversies, too, the big ones that came up. And maybe revisit a few of those cases that really show what made their storytelling so powerful. Exactly. So think of this as your guide, for you, the listener, to really get a handle on this huge piece of modern media and maybe understand a bit more about, those human curiosities it taps into so well. It's more than just listening, right? It's about understanding how it works. So Crime Junkie, got to start at the beginning, right? It kicked off in 2017. Ashley Flowers and Britt Praywat. And my understanding is it started super small, like really just two friends talking to crime cases.
That's exactly it. It was, that classic grassroots start, just two people, a microphone, and they were genuinely into talking about these crime stories. No big studio, no huge marketing push at first. It felt really organic, which, funny enough, was probably key to its success later on. It was a passion project, and you could really hear that authenticity, especially in the early days.
And wow, did it take off. I mean, really fast. Within just a couple of years, it went from that simple setup to being this global thing, consistently #1 on the podcast charts, right? Bowling in, tens of millions of listeners every month?
It blew past a lot of established media, honestly. People started binging it like a Netflix show.
Absolutely. And I think a huge reason for that, what really made them stand out was their signature style. You have Ashley doing the main storytelling, laying out the facts, building that narrative arc. But then Britt, she's not just, co-host chiming in. She's basically the audience. She asks the questions you're thinking. She has those gasps, the wait, what moments. It mirrors exactly how you, the listener, might be feeling. It makes it feel incredibly immersive, validating even. That sounds like a really tricky balance to get right, though. Being super informative, but also keeping it approachable. How did they keep that two friends on the couch feeling? Especially once they got so big. It just feels so simple.
Yeah.
Straightforward. No complicated jargon, not a lot of fancy sound effects. It really is like you're just listening in on friends telling a story. A chilling one, but still.
It is, and that's the clever part, isn't it? Keeping that relatability even as they scaled up. It is the simplicity, the directness. They don't try to sound too academic or, overly dramatic. They just tell the story. And doing that, it kind of normalizes your own reaction to these really intense stories. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, look at the name itself, Crime Junkie. That's become more than a title. It's like an identity now, right? Fans call themselves crime junkies. It's built this incredibly dedicated community, almost like a family.
Yeah, I could see that. And I think that's why that accessible style, it wasn't just popular, it was kind of transformative for the genre. It made true crime feel okay for a really wide audience, people who maybe thought it was, too morbid or too complex before. It sort of opened the door, invited everyone into this conversation. But let's pull back a bit. What is it about these stories that gets us hooked? This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Why are so many people drawn to true crime? What makes millions tune in to hear about, murders, kidnappings, mysteries?
Well, okay, on a really basic level, some of it definitely taps into our survival instincts. That's a big part of it. When you listen, there's this subconscious thing happening. It feels like learning almost, like mental prep. You're picking up on danger signs, what to avoid, how people got into bad situations. It's sort of like mental self-defense, processing threats safely. And Crime Junkie really nailed making it feel personal, like your what-if scenario. Britt's reactions amplify that, making the danger feel more real, more actionable for you, the listener.
Right, the survival thing makes total sense. But it's interesting. How do they balance that with the emotional side? Because it's not just about fear, is it? When you listen, you're hearing about real people.
Yeah.
Victims. Their families. There's this huge wave of empathy that comes with it. That's a powerful pull, too.
It is a very delicate balance, and they manage it pretty well, I think. The empathy often comes from how Ashley focuses on the victim first,
Yeah.
humanizing them before getting into the crime details. But then, yeah, let's be real, there is that thrill factor too. That satisfies a different kind of need. There's definitely a rush you get from hearing something scary but knowing you're safe. It's a bit like riding a roller coaster, right? You get the adrenaline, but there's no actual danger to you. Controlled fear. For a lot of people, that's compelling.
Exactly. And that whole mix, it just scratches that itch for mystery we all seem to have. We like puzzles, right? And these are the ultimate puzzles, often without all the pieces.
Yeah.
For some listeners, I think it's really about justice, too. They want closure. They want to see how cases got solved. Or if they didn't, they want to think about how they could be solved. Play detective in their heads.
And that's exactly why Crime Junkie hits so hard. It packages that mix the fear, the empathy, the thrill, the curiosity really expertly. It taps into these really basic parts of our psychology. That explains why you, listening right now, might find yourself so hooked. It's a potent combination. Hard to resist, really. They don't just give you facts, they give you feelings. All the feeling.
Yeah, definitely explains the huge appeal.
Yeah.
But it hasn't all been smooth sailing, has it? Like any big phenomenon dealing with real lives, there's been pushback.
No, not entirely smooth. There's definitely the flip side. This raises an important question about ethics.
Right. The show, even at its peak popularity, ran into some pretty serious controversy, around 2019 mostly. It was about plagiarism accusations. Several journalists, other podcasters too, came forward saying Ashley and Britt had used their reporting, their research, sometimes even like specific sentences, without giving credit. And this wasn't just background stuff. It was often about work that took a lot of digging. Investigative work.
Yeah, and that sent ripples through the whole true crime world. It sparked this much bigger debate about ethics, especially in podcasting, which was still kind of figuring things out. You had some fans feeling really let down, questioning the show's integrity. Then you had others defending them, saying things like, well, every true crime show uses sources, kind of implying it's just how it's done. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really threw a spotlight on how tricky sourcing and credit can be in this digital age, right? Where does reporting end and retelling begin? It forced a needed conversation about attribution in a spoken medium, where it's maybe easier to overlook.
And it brought up that even bigger question, didn't it? Beyond just crediting sources, is it actually ethical to retell these stories for entertainment at all? I mean, these are real people's worst nightmares. Families are still grieving. So the argument goes, turning that pain into a podcast episode, even if you mean well, could feel exploitative or, at worst, re-traumatizing for the people involved.
It's a really heavy, really valid point, and one the whole genre still grapples with. But then the counter-argument is that true crime stories, if done responsibly, can do a lot of good. They can bring attention to forgotten cases, especially ones the mainstream media ignored. Cold cases sometimes get new life. It keeps victims' names in the public consciousness, raises awareness about unsolved crimes, systemic issues, missing people. Sometimes it even generates new leads.
And that's where, whatever the criticisms Crime Junkie's impact is hard to ignore. Love them or not, they made millions of people aware of cases that absolutely would have stayed unknown otherwise. They put forgotten victims back on the map, created this kind of collective pressure for answers. So what does this all mean for the genre now?
Well, it means Crime Junkie was undeniably a major force in taking true crime from being this sort of niche interest, late night TV docs or pulpy paperbacks, and turning it into a massive mainstream conversation, something people talk about critically. Their influence in just making the genre huge, normalizing listening to it, and pushing podcasting forward, you can't deny that. It made everyone think harder about responsibility.
Okay, let's shift a bit. Let's talk about some specific cases they cover, the ones that really stick with you, that show that storytelling power. For me, one that always comes to mind is Lauren Sparrer, the college student in Indiana who just vanished one night. Still unsolved. The way Ashley told it almost minute by minute through that night. The conflicting stories, her last known steps, then just silence. It felt like you were there trying to piece it together. The fact there's still no answers, it's just incredibly haunting.
Oh, absolutely. That one is unforgettable. Just disappearing like that. It's terrifying. And Ashley's narration, the detail, the theories, it pulls you right in. Another one for me that really stuck was Alyssa Turney's story. That was just gut-wrenching. You had the stepfather accused, all these conflicting ideas about what happened, the family fighting for decades. That one hit hard because it felt like such an injustice. How could things be so inconsistent for so long? It was heartbreaking.
Exactly. And listening to episodes like those, you really feel I don't know, the weight of it all, how much injustice is out there, cases unsolved, people getting away with things, families left fighting. It makes you angry sometimes, frustrated, but also just more aware. It's like a reality check.
And I think that's a huge reason why people keep coming back, why these stories lodge themselves in your head. Every case leaves you with those lingering questions, those strong emotions, that hunger for answers, for some kind of resolution, even if it's just wanting justice for the victims you've heard about. That feeling keeps listeners engaged. It shows why these stories become part of how you see the world.
So, pulling it all together, what's the big takeaway about Crime Junkie? Why does it matter so much to you, the listener? I think maybe it's because it gives us this way to face fear, to feel empathy, and just to stay aware. Aware of the world, aware of human nature, the good and the bad. It ends up being more than just entertainment, doesn't it? It's storytelling that really stays with you. Makes you think.
Absolutely. And, whether you're a diehard fan, a critic, or somewhere in between, you just can't deny the impact it had on true crime, on podcasting itself. Crime Junkie really did start something. It built this huge community, spoke to millions of conversations like this one today. It fundamentally changed how we engage with these kinds of stories.
And considering that huge impact, raising awareness, building that community, maybe it leaves you, our listener, with a question to chew on. As people who consume these powerful stories, what's our role? What responsibility do we have to push for ethical storytelling from the creators we follow, especially when real lives, real tragedies are the heart of it? How do we balance our own curiosity, that human need to know, with respect for the victims and their families? It's complicated, right? And it's a question that definitely goes beyond just Crime Junkie. It speaks to how we handle these potent narratives responsibly. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll be back next time with another look into what matters.